call the names. Wake the room. Wake the room. Wake the room! Lou, Rex, Pam Ray, Naomi, Afasiana, Babbler, Monarch Soul, JoJo, Gray Eyes, fill my eyes. Poets assemble. No masks, no manners. Say it plain, or say it broken. Monday night in the garden of enlightenment. Low light lit minds, every line got intent. Clock ticks crooked and the room turns vigilant. Quiet so loud you can hear what the tension meant. Then it slips after midnight, manners get murdered. Nice little masks get cracked by a word or a murmur. Twisted Tuesdays twist truth till it turns on its heel. Clean cut faces go strange when the dark gets real. You can feel that shit, that slick little slip when the grin stays sweet, but the eyes don't sit. Like the room grew ribs, like the walls grew ears, like the hush got hands and it's pulling you near. And the words don't rest, they press. Put a heel on the chest, leave a dent in the breath. Every line like a knock from the back of the brain. Like you came in one shape, you won't leave the same. Late night poets, where the room leans in, where the sharp gets shown and the soft don't dim. Late night poets, hear the whole thing shift from a whispering the ribs to a line that lifts from the darkened edge of doubt to the pull you can't ignore. We don't just read the night, we make it something more. Say it plain, say it broken. Late night poets, Wednesday breaks, parts in the park, sink down the spine, half halo, half hazard, both hands in the light in the yard. Seduction walks soft through the smoke, silk on the tongue with the blade in the joke. Books and bards wakes dust in the depth of the shelves. Old ghosts lean out and start naming themselves in a craft in Sullen. Not the ache gets a voice, pain stands up straight and makes silence a choice. Then break on through when the devil gives way, when the masses sink but the pulse says pray. Echoes in the dark, oh hun, the fear, that thing with no name starts ringing in your ear. Say it, say it. Fill my eyes with poetry, don't water it down. Let it bite, let it bloom, let it burn through the crowd. Bad company grins like a bruise, dressed smart, and rhythm and rhyme puts a boot through the heart. Late night poets, where the room leans in, where the sharp gets shown and the soft don't dim. Late night poets, hear the whole thing shift from a whisper in the ribs to a line that lifts from the darkened edge of doubt to the pull you can't ignore. We don't just read the night, we make it something more. Say it plain, say it broken. Late night poets, some come shattered, some come slick. Some speak honey with a blade in it. Some sound velvet, some sound wire. Some walk in low and take the room higher. Some come holy, some come liars. That's the thing! This ain't filler for the dead space, no. There's a pulse with a pen, there's a blood with a nickel, there's a breath to the backbone, ink for the crown. Live mics, live nerves, truth laid bare in the round. This is the beautiful mess, the bruise and the bloom, the line that cuts clean and makes a little room. Late souls, wide eyes, all nerve in the dark. A room full of hearts beating hard through the dark. Wake the room, wake the room. Late night poets, where the room leans in, where the sharp gets shown and the soft don't dim. tell the truth. L&P, we love you. Stay frosty.
Hello and welcome to In Our Craft or Solid Art. This is the multifaceted world of words inked. Here we will ponder and discuss poetry inspired by literary minds throughout history. I am Pam Ray, and with me is my co-host JoJo. JoJo and I are poets on a website called All Poetry with a group of poets called Late Night Poets. If you find that tonight's show is not your cup of tea, please check out our other shows. We have 1 to 2 shows per night on a variety of topics and poetry, something to suit everybody's taste. Also, make sure when you get a chance to check out the poetry anthologies put out by Late Night Poets on Amazon, because when you purchase those, you not only get amazing poetry, you help support these radio shows. And hello, JoJo. How's it going?
Hi, Pam. It's going.
Yes. Yeah, I get that. Sometimes it's just all that you can say is it's going. Not sure where and not where I'll end up, but it's going.
Yeah. We had really beautiful weather today, and so I took the opportunity to go out and mow the, 1.5 or so acres of grass lawn. And that's always, I always really enjoy that. So it was gorgeous. Took my shirt off, mowed the entire lawn barefoot and felt the grass under my feet. So not too bad.
That's always a good feeling. That is. But to be able to walk around barefoot. I can't do that as much as I used to be able to. I used to hardly ever have socks or shoes on, and now I just I have to say that I've been making, I think I've mentioned this before, the conscious decision that if I'm up early, because of our weather being a little hotter than normal in this area, if I'm up early, that's when I try to go for my walk.
Yeah. It's gorgeous that time of day too, right?
It really is. It really is. And, it's gorgeous that time of day. I will say for me personally, summer nights, like when you get when I love going for nighttime walks. And because I live in a small town where usually the worst case scenario is, gossip from neighbors, I'm not saying it's perfect here. We have our issues, as every place does. I can't imagine that it's the same as if you live in a large city. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little more comfortable to be able to go for those nighttime walks. But
I grew up in a small town, most of my childhood anyway, half of my childhood. I grew up in a small town in Northern California. And so I totally understand that, the townspeople, the gossip, all of that. We used to joke that, when we would go out troublemaking in my teenage years, that, our parents would find out about it long before we even got home.
Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. They'd eventually, we think we were sneaky,
right.
But eventually people caught on, or parents caught on. So totally, 70s, 80s, even early 90s, totally different for being a teenager, for sure. But I see we have Robbie and Tim hanging on the board in Podbean. It's good to see both of them. And good to see them. Awesome. I always look forward to hanging out with you and other cool poets. And, it's It's gonna be a great show tonight. Yeah, so we do have a few carryovers inspired by Eleanor Wiley, and then we will go in to poetry inspired by Frank. Now, is it pronounced Bidart or Bidart?
So I know a few of his fellow students, let's just say, and you know, I never actually asked that question. I always just said bite art, and nobody ever corrected me. So
that works for me. I actually tried looking it up, and it just, there were different pronunciations, but I'm thinking that because he's an American, I could see Bidart making sense.
He is American.
Yes, from California.
Yeah,
but
from Bakersfield.
Oh, okay. Okay. But yeah, I definitely will be wanting you to talk about your contest and about Frank Bidart, but I do want to do that when we get to that topic. That way it's more fresh.
Yeah, absolutely.
In people's mind just before we get into the poetry.
According to Google, it's Bidart.
Bidart? Okay.
Yeah, but I don't think so. Nobody has ever corrected me, so I don't think it actually matters much. But
right. Now, if he was French, it would be like bidar or something.
Yeah, you wouldn't really pronounce the R or the T at the end. You would just swallow them.
Bidar. Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. There's this one comedian, and I'll have to find the video to send to you. It's so funny. It's part of his routine is he talks about the fact that he's Cajun, so his father spoke French, but on his mother's side, he's Jewish. And so it's more funny when you actually hear it, so I'll send it to you. But basically, the whole idea is like the French add all these extra letters, and the Hebrew people or the Jewish people were like, you know what? When somebody said, "Let's buy a vowel," do you want to buy a vowel? We said, "No, thanks." But can you imagine what an extreme difference in languages? I mean, because honestly, if you think about it, French has all these extra vowels and letters that make either one, you know what I mean? Like EAU makes the O sound.
Yeah.
And then Hebrew doesn't have any vowels whatsoever. So
but also the Cajun context there makes it even more absolutely fascinating, right?
It really does. It really does. Yeah, to be that French, Cajun, and Jewish combination. What an interesting, absolutely. But oh my gosh. But
growing up, we had sort of a second set of parents, Eloise and Eddie Washington, who originally were from Louisiana, a tiny little town, and they were like our second parents, my mom's and dad's best friends. And when they retired, they moved back to Louisiana. A couple of years later, I went to visit them, and they had gotten back into, just speaking Creole. And I was there like a week, and I don't think I understood 3 words either of them said the entire time. It's just
wow,
a foreign language.
Well, yeah, especially with the accent and it's really interesting. I honestly would love, like, for me, I've always wanted to see more of the eastern part of the United States. I have a very limited amount of traveling I've done to the eastern part of the United States. And for me, especially, like if I created a bucket list, part of that would be to see the states that were like, the original states, the original 13 colonies, because there's so much history there.
Yeah.
In
1977, the year after the centennial, we drove across country and we did the Freedom Trail, which is like all over kind of the Boston area. And what a Well, and then then we did like Philadelphia and so forth. But what an incredible like historical kind of trip that we did. Just going through and seeing all of the different sites.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. That would be a wonderful trip. The New York State was the only place I went. I mean, okay, technically I went to Maine,
Right.
but I was, or not Maine, Boston. I was, well, yeah, Boston, because it was wherever that is. I'm suddenly confused. Sorry, but
Yeah.
it was only to be at the airport to
Right.
fly to Germany when I was
Right.
18 years old. So I didn't get anything other than the airport. And
where did you go in Germany?
Where did I go in Germany?
Yeah.
Oh, all over the place.
Oh,
It was for the high school class trip, because I took 3 years of German, and technically I only took 2, because I took the first year. I didn't really focus on that. And then by the second year, I wanted to take the trip, which happens in 12th grade. So I took the first year over again, and then I took the second year, because you had to have at least 2 years of German to qualify to go.
Right.
And I can't remember everywhere we went, but I did go to Neuschwanstein Castle.
Oh,
We actually went over into Austria.
yeah.
And we actually saw the church where they filmed part of the Sound of Music, and that was really cool. And then we took a trip up into one of those cable cars into the Black Hills Forest.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I got my sister this just absolutely beautiful cuckoo clock made in the Black Hills Forest region.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we took a trip on the Rhine, and saw the that famous rock where the siren, what's her name? Starts with an L. I'm blanking out.
I don't know.
Oh,
Lorelei.
yes, that's it exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was so freaking long ago, man. Was it? Oh man, I tell you. Well, it's so much fun to talk about all this stuff, but I gotta say, we should probably get the ball rolling on some of this amazing poetry we have coming up. So
Indeed.
yeah, what do we got first, JoJo?
So let's do it this way. Up first will be Eric Svensson's "A Stitch in Time," and we have a SoundCloud for that. Can you? I assume you have
Yes.
it loaded.
Yes. Jean was nice enough to get it loaded for us. So here we go. Oh, let's see. You know what? Did we only have one from him? I'm sorry. I have to check for in our craft or Sullen art. I think so, because I think the other
so.
one.
It should be called "A Stitch in Time."
Right. Well, only part of it, the title shows up. So I just had to make sure. I was like,
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. A Stitch in Time by Eric Svensson.
A stitch in time, to wit, to woe, the silent dread of the unstill thread. Wayward tripwire ire dangles its despicable loose ends. One tug at sobriety's woven garment, and it'll bring on the bends. Collapse cashmere comfort against poised, pockmarked planetary dread. Off kilter, will and spindle, distrust lopsided looms inclement boon. At loose ends, societal fabric deconstructs itself like quicksilver blobs. Sordid boon of latest platitude patters strewn with vehement nods, amplified Midas touch neath angry sun, shocked stars and morose moon. How to whittle away weighted albatross weariness of straight jacket stress, ere the shadows fall as cotton mills become bunkers for human rats. Terse and tight-fisted, the wind between the willow barters like brats. Decal decorum proffers non-biodegradable materials Millie's second guess. Swallows swift will soldier on through these terse reverse planetary times. Fastidious beak shall broker build sound nest in muddled, muddy chimes. End poem.
Wonderful read and write, Eric. Thank you for the SoundCloud. It is very much appreciated. And just a reminder, everyone, if you're unable to call in, the next best thing is to make a recording of your poem, because then we get to hear your poetry in your voice or how you would like it to be heard. Now, Eric was inspired by the Eleanor Wiley poem, Address to My Soul, and we gave him the bronze in this contest.
Mm-hmm.
And John, your thoughts?
So there's all sorts of things that I like about this, not the least of which is just sort of portraying society as this chaotic mess, I guess, of fabric, of threads in the fabric of society. And you just get the sense of like, you just pull one thread and everything just like completely unwinds, like that thread on your favorite shirt. You pull it a little bit and suddenly you have to buy a new shirt. I also really love the incredibly strong alliteration in this. That lopsided looms and broker build sound nests and muddled muddy chimes. The alliteration here is almost over the top. Beneath angry sun, shucked stars, and morose moon. It's the alliteration here is just stunningly just stunning. So I really like this, and I love the way that he reads on his SoundClouds. It gives me almost like a Yeats kind of a vibe. It's just got that great voice with serious poetic gravitas. So really, really nicely done, Eric.
Oh, absolutely. I have to agree. Great observations there. Yeah, I enjoy his use of alliteration because I feel like it's one of the ways that Eric just has so much fun with poetry. No matter how serious the topic is that he writes about. This has really thoughtful and captivating lines, strong visceral imagery and metaphors. This speaks to me on the challenges of life faced and the need to plow forward. And I really thought there was great lines throughout. But I especially liked that third stanza, and especially the line, ere the shadows fall as cotton mills become bunkers for human rats, terse and tight-fisted, the wind between the willow barders like brats, decal decorum proffers non-biodegradable materials, millisecond guess. I feel like that speaks on the idea of humanity destroying itself. And seeing some people as lesser, and there's a sadness to this, but it's such a joy to read and to listen to his voice. Just
Yeah.
an amazing write by Eric and very well done. And what do we got next, John?
All right. Next up is Hearts of Glass by Betty Page. And I think female voice would be very good here. What do you think?
All right, I think I can agree with that. All right, let me just get back to where I need to be. And Hearts of Glass by Betty Page. Pretty hearts of glass fade into my delicate, bright, vivid blue skies, golden fairy dust, my delicate universe, shimmering bright moon. And poem. Guess I'll have to go take a long drink of water while you comment on that.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think you're going to be able to recover before the next one?
It might take a while. You might need to read the next 3 poems.
What a pretty little brevity. The Hearts of Glass. Betty always seems to pull up these nice little what's that? Little pieces of not Americana, but shoot, what's the word? Anyway, pop culture. Yeah. So it immediately brings to mind the Blondie song "Hearts of Glass," I guess. And the glass heart is a really strong image, and I love how it just delicately fades into the bright, vivid blue skies, as if this heart of glass might suddenly turn to sand and then glass-like dust, and then kind of fade off into the great blue yonder, like fairy dust. So I like the delicateness of it, which is it's explicitly in the poem, my delicate universe, but it's also just very delicately written as well. So really nicely done by Betty.
Oh, absolutely. Great comment, John. Yeah, I too thought of the Blondie song "Heart of Glass" when I saw the title. And I do like that image and metaphor because it does speak on how delicate the heart can be, especially when you think of the idea of a broken heart. I really like the imagery of golden fairy dust. And it just has such a magical mysticism in it, and I like how it speaks on the idea of the magic that rests within this heart that provide this delicate heart that provides light. So beautifully written by Betty Page and nicely done. And back to you, John.
All right. Now that you're done reading War and Peace, I will take the next one. This is Vegetarian, Gay, Straight, Whatever, The Day Buster Poindexter Died by Pixie Sticks. I can imagine your cologne, Camels and Jack, with a hint of pomade growling at the heart note of your ghost. The underground scene was hand-stitched in lightning bolts of velvet, the blackest black, I think. Bleaker streets, low lights, were daringly unpolished, steamrolled and strutted to the very bitter end. Punk's leather embryos took first breath in sacred geometry, congruent with nonconformity. Their dolls were curated on a misfit stage, eyeliner egos absolute in androgynous anarchy. Those glamorous spills of sequins, stilettos, and sweat. No one dared to admit it's hard to resist a blood-red lip, no matter whose mouth puckers a defiant kiss. No gender to bend into a story or fast forward to the din of the dance floor, singing hot, hot, hot. you know how it goes. End poem.
Great read there, John. This is just such an amazing write. And I know it was written in May, but I think with June being Pride Month, it's just, an absolutely fabulous write to be reading on this show. It's a wonderful a tribute to Buster Poindexter, whose real name was David Johansen. He was a musician and an actor. I'm sure you've probably heard of him, John. Started his career in 1968 and went until 2020. Yep.
Yep.
And so it's a wonderful tribute poem, but it also has a strength of its own, even if it wasn't a tribute poem. I like how it speaks to me on individuality. There is strong emotive lines, just amazing imagery and metaphors. This is an excellent write on expression of the individual and the anarchy that opens minds to revelations of punk. And my thoughts on punk, like I actually really like using occasionally, especially for the After Midnight show, song lines, like not a complete song, but just lines from songs or quotes from people from the punk or punk rock music, because love it or hate it, it served a purpose. It was something that represented what a generation needed in the time. They needed that anarchy, they needed to rebel against being put in boxes by authority, and metaphorical boxes, at least in my opinion. Now, I was never a punk, I didn't get into that scene. I'm probably just on the edge of being too young. I don't think they would have let me in at 3 years old, but but still, I have an appreciation for it. And so I have a real good appreciation for this write. And he does mention the band Their Dolls. And I know the band has a different name, not Their Dolls, but
wasn't it the Underground? I think was it the Underground Dolls?
I think it might have been. I have to reopen the page and check that out. But the New York Dolls.
The New York Dolls. New York Dolls.
Yes, that was it. I knew it wasn't Their Dolls. I knew it's something, but it had the word dolls in it. So that itself was a clever word play there. But I really like Their Dolls were curated on a misfit stage, eyeliner, egos, absolute, in adronomous anarchy. Those glamour spills of sequins, stilettos, and sweat. No gender to bend into a story or fast forward into the din of the dance floor singing hot, hot, hot. Really clever wordplay. Plus, I like how it shows us an individual who stepped forward and said, I don't have to be put into a label, I like, just like how, David Bowie has his Iggy Stardust costumes, very androgynous. It's like, I'm not here to be labeled. I'm here to be something that has jumped out of that box and said, here I am, love me or hate me. And at least that's my thoughts on it. But I have a real appreciation for this write by Pixie Sticks, and I think it's very well done.
Yeah. So I was born in 1964. So much of the punk scene was a little bit before, I became seriously musically aware. Yeah, the New York Dolls weren't really kind of my thing. The shout out, there's a few shout outs in here, I think. Enlightening Bolts of Velvet, I think, is probably a shout out to the Velvet Underground. They were, I would call them pre-punk or proto-punk. They sort of were kind of before the more serious and punk scene, and I think a lot of people consider them maybe part of the set of grandfathers of punk. So I like that in Lightning Bolts of Velvet. It feels like a shout out. And Bleecker Street was part of the punk scene in New York. What's the other? Is it the Bowery or something like that? It was sort of the epicenter of the punk scene. I had an uncle, and what would my uncle's sister be? I guess anyway, my uncle and his sister were big fans, punk fans, and would occasionally go to concerts, and a couple of times went to New York to experience, I guess, the punk scene. I came into it a little bit. Well, I came into it. I mean, Bowie wasn't punk, but I mean, Ziggy was around the time I started to become seriously musically aware. And so the Velvet Underground was kind of a big part of my years then, I guess. And, you know, the Tubes, and oh, shoot. Anyway, I mean, much of it kind of passed me by just because I was sort of in between the generations. But this has a lot of really nice shout outs, I guess, to the whole punk scene. I also just love the vibe. It has that punk kind of vibe. I can imagine your cologne, Camels and Jack with a hint of pomade, growling. I love that. It was definitely that pomade kind of generation as well, especially in New York, I think. So a lot of really nice kind of references to the punk scene as part of this homage, I guess, or is it an homage or an elegy? Anyway, for Buster Poindexter. So really nicely done. Yeah, really nicely done.
Oh, right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I have to agree. Wonderful comment, John. All right. And what do we have coming up next?
Okay, so we have War and Peace version or volume 2, and I'll leave this one to you.
All right. Let me just get this posted in a couple other spots, and then I'll get back there. All right. Amber Made Grain by Kathy Cross. Soft shimmers are glowing on golden corn. Winds stir, stalks are swaying. They're kissed by the sun. He's a spark, amber burning, flexed across the land. Colors swell along edges. Heat spreads by his hand. Silken tassels beneath husks thicken as kernels form. Milky swelling, then heavy, until corn is born. End poem. And your thoughts, John?
Is it just me, or does this come off sounding fairly erotic?
It is. It's one of the most erotic poems I've read about corn.
Yeah, right. I've never read an erotic corn poem before, but boy, is it beautiful. We grew a lot of corn growing up, and I love the soft shimmers are glowing on golden corn. You know, remember like in the summers when the corn would start to be ready to harvest, I would just go in the garden and just like pull cobs off of the stalks and just rip their clothes off, I guess, and just eat them, like raw. And that first stanza just kind of reminds me of the golden, the what do they call them? The hairs that come out of the end of the corn husks. they're golden, but late in summer they turn kind of brown as they dry, and that's when they kind of tell you that they're ready for harvest. So that first stanza really kind of speaks to me and my childhood. But it's also very erotic. And I hadn't really thought of the corn husk with, that hair coming out. I hadn't really thought of it, in that way. I really like the amber burning flexed across the land. So you get sort of that bodily flex, like muscles flexing, maybe lightly golden browned in the California sun, maybe. And the colors swelling along the edges, the heat spreads by his hand. It's just extremely erotic. Silken tassels. That's the word I was looking for earlier. The silken tassels that just kind of grow out of the end of the husks. Really nicely done and extremely erotic. Just gorgeous. What do you think, Pam?
Oh, I think this is absolutely beautiful. I like how this speaks on the importance of the sun to have crops grow. And we never raised corn when I was a kid because that takes, lots, as you know, big fields. But, I see the farmers in this area who have those like wide fields of corn that just seem to go on forever. And it just I don't know, it's just amazing to me, whether it's wheat or corn, or whatever your crop is, even if it's just a small individual garden, how much we have to be thankful for when the sun shines and the rain falls. And even in wintertime, if you get winter that doesn't have enough snow in certain areas like here, that can affect how the crops grow come spring because there's not enough moisture in the ground. But I love the personification of the corn, the delicate sensuality within this. And I like that title, Amber Made Grain, the idea of grain being made by the sun, being created by the sun. And I just think this has wonderful lines throughout, speaking. And to me, it just really speaks on not only the importance of the sun, but the importance of agriculture. So excellent write by Kathy Cross, and very well done. And
also, Amber is a name as well, right? So it's also like
yes,
a female name as well. So Amber also made grain.
There you go. There you go. Absolutely.
I think Amber's smiling today after making grain.
Right? Amber's waves are definitely, or grains are definitely waving.
All right. So next up is Never Ending End by Jody Melton. I didn't wake up in jail with fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets overhead. Didn't wake with blood on my knuckles or my name written in county ink across a paper cup beside a steel cot. I didn't wake up dead either. Didn't drift into that endless dark where all the aching finally goes quiet, where regret loses its teeth and loneliness no longer claws through the ribs at 3 a.m. No, I woke up here in this ordinary room with sunlight leaking through the blinds, like God forgot to close the door all the way. Coffee cold on the nightstand, dust floating in tired circles. Another morning still carrying your ghost like smoke trapped in old denim. And that's the cruel part. Because a man can escape jail, given enough time, enough patience, even iron bars surrender. A body can outrun sirens, cross state lines, change names, vanish into the blur of highway exits and strangers who don't ask questions. Hell, maybe death itself is an escape, just another train leaving town with no return ticket punched. But your memory, there ain't no fence around it, no lock to pick, no tunnel to crawl through with bleeding hands and dirt in my mouth. You follow me through grocery store aisles, through songs I never meant to hear again, through whiskey glasses sweating in dim bars where I pretend not to look for your reflection. You live in the spaces between things, between breaths, between heartbeats, between the man I was and the man left standing after you. And maybe that's the punishment. Not handcuffs, not a coffin, not some judge deciding my sentence. Just waking up every morning to a world that kept turning without you. Reaching across the bed half asleep like some fool still believing you might be there. Only to grab a fistful of cold sheets and realize all over again that the only thing I'll never escape is the life I almost had with you. End poem.
Great read there, John. Wow, that one really, this poem by Jody Melton really hits hard. It's such a powerful write on loneliness felt and the idea of not being able to escape what one no longer has. He was inspired by Lament for Glasgow. It was a great take on the chosen prompt, strong imagery, an excellent write on the haunting realization that one cannot escape from thoughts of what almost happened. And I mean, this just had amazing lines throughout. I feel like Jean says, this would be one of those poems I would just copy and paste the whole thing. But I really like where it says, you follow me through grocery store aisles, through songs I never meant to hear again, through whiskey glasses sweating in dim bars where I pretend not to look for your reflection. And then the stanza following that, you live in the space between things, between breaths, between heartbeats, between the man I was and the man left standing after you. Just wonderful lines and beautifully written by Jody Melton. And your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to wholeheartedly agree with you. This hits really hard, and my favorite part of it is just the opening. So I didn't wake up in jail. I didn't wake up dead. No, it was a lot worse than that. I woke up here. And I think that does well, the first two stanzas, I summarize them in 2 lines, but they're just gorgeously written, and with lots and lots of detailed details to the 2 images of waking up in jail and waking up dead, but just that overall narrative arc flow of the opening, I think, is extremely strong to just kind of set up just how excruciatingly miserable and terrible it is to wake up here in this ordinary room without her, the missing beloved, I guess, and so, then calling that cruel, like that's the cruel and unusual punishment of their existence now. And then this nice sequence about, that waking up dead probably ain't so bad. And if you're in jail, you can escape, even iron bars surrender. So, if any other outcome than waking up here would have been preferable and easier to deal with, right? But no, instead, just waking up here with the memory, I think is that whole narrative arc or component of the narrative arc, I think is my favorite part of this, just how beautifully Jody sets it all up. And just I mean, at that point it's like you're lined up just waiting to get knocked over, which he then does in the second half. So I think this is one of Jody's emotionally strongest rights, really. And the jail metaphors is really, really good here. So I like that as well.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely. Great comment, John. And I know that was the last of our carryovers. So now we're going to go into poetry inspired by Frank Bedard. And John, if you'd like, go ahead, please, and tell us about the contest and tell us a little bit about this poet.
I think I'll do it in the opposite order. So Frank Bedard is an American poet. He's still alive. He was originally from Southern California. So one of my fellow Californians and also one of my fellow University of Californians. He did his undergrad at Riverside, one of the 3 campuses I applied to and was accepted into, but I didn't go. And then after Riverside, he went to Harvard, and I try to say that with all due respect. So he went to Harvard, where he studied under Elizabeth Bishop. Well, no, sorry. Really, he studied under Robert Lowell, but also Elizabeth Bishop. Lowell was in his time just one of the big names in American poetry. He got the Pulitzer Prize in 1947, and at Harvard, but maybe elsewhere as well. I don't remember exactly his career track, but his students included Sylvia Plath and Anne Sexton, and also Frank Bedard. And he also formed a lifelong kind of almost not like a sexually loving relationship, but he just like found this life partner there in poetry, Elizabeth Bishop, who was also a big name in American poetry. In fact, also won a Nobel Prize in 1956. So Bedard went to Harvard and became sort of the third in this trio of absolutely incredible poets. And he himself actually won a Nobel Prize in 2018, I think it was. So it was just this trio of like incredible poets that kind of came together, and they fed off of each other, is the way that I would say it. And Bedard was a student of theirs, but like when Bishop died, she left her entire like library to him, and so he was after their deaths, he was sort of in charge a little bit of preserving their legacy and poetry, and so he sort of had this other role as kind of a giant of American poetry. And so he's a really interesting writer. I wish I could read the beginnings of Ellen West, which is far and away his best known and absolute masterpiece work. But well, we can't read poetry anymore. And I didn't think to email him to ask for permission to use it. So he taught for like 45 years at Wellesley College. So after Harvard, he ended up at Wellesley and taught way more than 2 generations of writers at Wellesley. Wellesley's a small, well, it was originally a women's liberal arts college in Wellesley, Massachusetts, but about 8 or 10 years ago, they opened the campus up a little bit to transgender and genderqueer and other students, and so it's kind of expanded in recent years. One of the most progressive liberal arts colleges in the United States, and like one of the feathers in the New England cap of liberal arts colleges. So I think in the contest, I posted a link to Ellen West, and I highly recommend reading it. It's long, but it's brilliant, and I think if you just read the first like 12 stanzas, 10 or 12 stanzas of it, you'll get a really good sense for his shtick, his craft. So I tried to capture some of that in the prompts. So the prompts are kind of focused on this, well, a number of things. So I came to Bedart after discovering Richard Sykin and really kind of obsessing over Sykin's obsession, and that at some point led me to Bedart, who I would say is sort of the grandfather of compulsion, which is a slightly different beast. And so his poetry has a ton of compulsion in it, and you'll see that in Ellen West if you take the time to read it. But he's also in the line from, let's say, Dickinson to Gluck. He's part of that long succession of writers that I would say call pressure poets. And so there's a lot of pressure in his poetry and in his compulsion. And so those are the things that I like the most about his work. So I tried to capture a few of those in the prompts. So prompt 1, quickly after my parents died, I came out, foundational narrative designed to confer existence. And so that's about identity, which is important in his work. So the idea there was to write a poem about a story the speaker tells to explain who they are. Prompt 2, I have found another man in me. Write a poem about feeling divided against yourself. Another important component of his work. His work is often in a vocal narrative style, and is often kind of contradicting himself. So he'll say, I am A, and then he'll say, but I'm really not A, I'm B, but somebody else says that I'm C, but really I'm none of those things. Kind of these little contradictions that tend to split the identity. So prompt 2 tries to capture that. Prompt 3, making is the mirror in which we see ourselves. Write a poem about making something. So there is trying to get people to maybe use a narrative style to maybe talk out loud as they make something. Prompt 4, whether you love what you love or live in divided, ceaseless revolt against it, what you love is your fate. Write a poem about loving something that the speaker also resists. Again, speaking to his sort of split personality almost, or split identity. Prompt 5, I tried. I made beautiful paintings, beautiful poems, fluff, garbage. Write a poem in which beauty is not enough. The other thing I like about that quote is that, again, he often says something and then immediately contradicts it, and that's another really good example. And then prompt 6, even as master, of course, you remain its slave. So write a poem about something the speaker has tried to master, only to discover that mastery has its own form of captivity. So that speaks to the serious compulsion in his poetry. So those are some of the ideas that I was hoping to have people explore with this contest, and I was really quite happy with the results. So with that, let's go to the first poem, which I will read.
And great information there, John. Thank you.
All right. So the first up is Monarch Soul's poem, Minimal, which she wrote almost as soon as the contest came out. So she was the first in the contest. So thank you, Monarch. This is Minimal by Monarch Soul. Minimalism: closet, hangers, clothes, blouse, blazer, slacks, space, breathe, again. No wrinkles, ever. Shoes, repeat, space, never scuffed. Posture, erect, precise, calm. Figure, slim, sculpted, maintained. Mind, uncluttered. Thoughts, controlled. Projects, files, numbers, reports. Consistent, competent, correct. Always. Perception, positive, prompt, professional. Interaction. This month's numbers are cut off, them. What do you use for your skin? It positively glows. Maybe I should have worn the enamel in citrine. I love color bright and intrusive, but it's distracting. I won't be distracted. This month's reports need to be again, them. Oh, they can wait. You must tell us the secret. Maybe I should have ordered a cheeseburger. No. Clean diet and healthy fats. Simple routine. I won't overcomplicate anything. Maybe just tell them and move on. No, they won't believe me. That's complicated. Distracting. Again. Nothing. I'll just leave the reports on the desk. Maybe emerald and citrine would be okay. Just once. End poem.
Great read there, John. And what an amazing write by Monarch Soul. I like her use of spacing. I like the way she has movement in her stanzas, which I think are a great reflection of the style of Frank Bedard from what I saw. Also there's some really wonderful uses, a gentle touch of alliteration that works well. I also like the irony and the juxtaposition of how the title is minimal, the first word is minimalism, and yet from all the different objects brought into this, right? Like the poem itself is a physical representation of minimalism in that there's only 1 to 2 words, 1 to 3 words per line, give or take. And I do see now I'm scrolling down ones with a little more than that, but on average there's 1 to 3 words per line. So there it's a physical representation of minimalism. And yet if you look at the idea of what this person is going through, what they have to get done, what they want, it feels like this is not a person living a minimalism lifestyle. It feels like someone who's just gathered up too much around themselves, too much in themselves. And it also speaks to me on the idea of a mind constantly distracted, torn between continuing with a project and taking a break. I see she was inspired by prompt 5. I made beautiful paintings, beautiful poems, fluff, garbage. And so many relatable lines in this. I do like the iteration: consistent, competent, correct, and then always perception, positive, prompt, professional. And and those lines speak to me, and much of this poem speaks to me on being what other people want you to be. And even the most simple of choices, like maybe I should have ordered a cheeseburger. No, clean diet and healthy fats, simple routine. I won't overcomplicate anything. And that I find that interesting. I actually was watching a video on the psychology of people who overthink things. Like, if somebody has looks at you a certain way, that you know, like your brain interprets the way somebody says something, or when they don't say something, like you overthink if somebody doesn't answer you right away. And the psychology of that. And I feel like in that part about keeping things simple and not complicating, I won't overcomplicate anything, is somebody trying to convince themselves to not overthink it. But I think this is definitely a strong write by Monarch, and very well done.
Yeah, really great comments there, Pam. I mean, you just nailed this poem, which, by the way, completely nailed the contest. I thought it just brought out so much of if you read Ellen West, you'll just see so much of Bedard's technique and form in this. So, there's this kind of split identity of, the citrine and what was it? Just the internal colors versus the juxtaposed with the outward professional identity, and then you also, this is clearly a woman who is extremely accomplished professionally, and maybe hiding her other identity inside, but is, outwardly very accomplished, and then, goes to work. And I'm guessing it's probably just a whole bunch of men, or maybe not men, but just coworkers that, then focus in instead on, like her skin glowing and so forth. And so then she kind of gets in an argument with herself, which is totally Bedard. And second guessing herself. And so then you start to see these two identities clashing. Maybe I should have worn the emerald and citrine. I love color, bright and intrusive, but it's distracting. I won't be distracted. The month's reports need to be addressed. And, sort of this kind of argument between the two identities. And that, I think, is probably my favorite part, that the arguing between identities is just fantastic here. So I think you covered most everything else, but the short lines, I think, are there to to sort of show this obsessing over all of this juxtaposition that's kind of becoming exposed a little bit as she goes from being completely well put together and in control to showing up at work and then kind of losing it amidst these coworkers. So this is when I first saw this, I was like, this is exactly the kind of poem I was hoping to get for the contest. So I think this is really, really strong, Monarch, and thank you so much for contributing it to the contest. All right.
Yes, definitely. I have to agree. Great comment there, John.
All right. Next up is for you, Pam, and it is from our very own Julie Buck, and it is called Live in Filth.
All right. Just refreshing my page, and wow, it's taken a long time to refresh.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. And just getting a couple more things done, and all right. So we have
Sorry, I live in filth.
Julie
Sorry.
Buck. I live in filth. 7 cats will cause that. I fight when and how I can. My kids, cats, all females, all found us. My boyfriend pulled up the pissed on carpets. We traced that trash, laying down pretty floorboards, getting a new sofa and love seat too. How to protect. The felines have broken uncountable beloved objects, from an heirloom lamp to bobbleheads to plants with live ivy. I cry and scold, but the cats just blink my heartache away. Once a huge family full of fun, functions, holidays, children, food, and games. Children grow up, grandparents die, our matriarch passed, unresolved, stupid stuff left behind. Everything's changed. I, the scapegoat, once the favorite. How do things get so twisted? Why do we chew on the wrong pain for years? Grief is forever. I loathe it. But then, what the heck? I'll just hate everything. Easier that way. There's no going home again because home is a feeling, not a place. I live in filth. I tell my son I object to 3 litter boxes in the living room. He defends, justifies, and nothing changes. A bit of kitty poo there, several puked up hairballs over the here. He may or may not pick it up. Some days I have to ask myself, do I want peace more than I want to fight with the kid, for him to do what he knows he should already be doing? Howl, yeah, I choose peace sometimes. I don't know why memories sting, nor why I live in filth. End poem. And Julie was inspired by whether you love what you love or live in divided, ceaseless revolt against it. What you love is your fate.
Nicely done, hey.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so Bedart's work often, the characters, narrators often are just like having these fights with themselves like out loud, and Julie does that really well here. This there's just this absolute mess of a house. I think primarily because of the cats, and like all of the chaos that the cats cause. All female cats, by the way. So they're like pissing on the carpets and trashing the house, and there's like broken beloved objects and so forth, that heirloom lamp, and so you get this really great image of this house in chaos, due to primarily cats that the speaker presumably at some point agreed to, but then there's just this argument with themselves, or this kind of clash between what was the quote, Oh, my screen just crashed. All right, there. There's this fighting or choosing peace, and whether or not they love their kid or hate the burden that the kid has become. There's just this internal, or maybe even, well, I guess it's an internal monologue slash fight with themselves over all of this, over this life that they've kind of made, and so over their fate. And so I thought this was a really good and strong write, and a nice alignment with the contest and with the given prompt. So really, really well done, Julie. Thank you so much. Your thoughts, Pam?
Yeah, I thought this was amazing. I always enjoy and appreciate how oftentimes Julie has such raw, gritty poetry, and it has this honesty to it that I think many people can find relatable. Because if you've raised kids, especially as they hit their teenage years, that you choose your battles.
Yes.
Yeah, especially once they start getting taller than, like I have one son who he hit 6 foot by 11th grade, and
Yeah.
there were some insane battles. And I did not, by the way, I did not contribute to that height, because
Oh. Uh-oh.
pets or whatever, agree to move somewhere different, agree to, change aspects of our lives. And sometimes we look back at those decisions made with regret. And sometimes, we look at the messes around us and we have to say, is this worth it? Is this needed? Like I totally would be struggling with and I love cats, but I would be struggling with 3 litter boxes in a living room. I
Yeah.
would just, for me, it's always been 1 or 2 litter boxes in a laundry room, or when we did have cats,
Yeah.
or a bathroom somewhere out, or I don't know, but I would definitely be struggling. But for me, I think the bigger picture of this is not the mess made by the cats per se for me, but the idea of how so oftentimes, whether it's people and pets, but especially people, that they become a part of our lives, and they're either leaving or they're leaving a mess, and you've got to choose. It's like, yes, it sucks to have laundry to get done and dishes to get done and all this cleaning up to do, but if you didn't have as much, you'd be lonely.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, yeah, at least that's part of what it speaks on to me is, what do I choose? To do the extra laundry, do the extra dishes and not be lonely, or, I don't know, but I do think it's a particularly strong write by Julie, and very well done. And John, I know you're going to put up the next one for you to read, and I was wondering if you would comment it on it first, and I'd
Absolutely.
comment second, because I need to be right back.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. This is called Misery by Dark Night of the Soul. Damn him, his bronze body and easy laugh. I belong with her. Damn him, how proud he is in his skin, open and clear as a June morning window when I am boarded shut, black as secrets. Damn him for tempting me away from rings already given. I belong with her, don't I? That day we wrestled, when we were way too old to wrestle, what would I have done with something simple as a kiss? Damn him just dancing through life. Damn those deadly superpowers of confidence and prettiness he used effortlessly, frivolously, thoughtlessly. I couldn't give in. I belonged to her. I loved him more than her for a fleeting, tortuous, confusing minute, an eternity, and he knew. And I damn him all the more for doing nothing to put me out of my misery. End poem. Really nicely done. So let's see. So this sounds like the narrator is just in their own head, just kind of thinking this through, and just kind of obsessively damning this. I guess it's a protagonist, something like that. The object of his damnation, and so the repetition here, the recursion, the damn him, the damn him, the damn him, drives the poem forward with rhythm, and is each time kind of changing or modifying the damnation. So originally it's the bronze body, an easy laugh, and then it is over how proud the guy is. When the narrator is boarded shut, and then it's like, damn him for tempting me. I belong with her, don't I? Is really strong. So so initially, I belong with her, being sort of a statement, and then don't I kind of questioning that statement. That's a classic Bedart move that it works really, really well there. And then, the wrestling and what would I have done with something simple as a kiss? So the kiss is juxtaposition for wrestling. So the wrestling being this really physical, almost fighting-like thing, and then the kiss kind of being the opposite. And then he damns him for just dancing through life. So clearly, this other guy's life is really easy, so he can just dance through it, whereas you get the sense that the narrator just struggles through life. And so he's damning the confidence and the prettiness and all of that, and then concludes, I couldn't give in, I belonged to her. And then he says, I loved him more than her for a fleeting, tortuous, confusing minute. So again, it's sort of undermining the previous statement. So this is just this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth argument with himself, but along the way, just kind of exposing these different conflicting viewpoints that are clearly very important to him. And so there's this great sense of self-defiance and this great sense of accusation. And these are all really classic Bedart moves, and yet it's also a really simple narrative. So this was a really great alignment with the prompt and a really effective piece. And I love this piece so much. It's exactly what the contest was designed for. So thank you, Dark Night of the Soul. I just absolutely love this piece. Are you back, Pam?
I am, yes. Yeah, I did think this was a wonderful write by Dark Night of the Soul. I had actually commented on this about 6 days ago, because it was on a group reading list that I was commenting on, and without realizing that it was entered in the contest, which was fine. It's not something I usually do. Like, I usually wait until like either like after, if it's my contest, I wait until after the show, or if it's a contest, like somebody else is running for a show, I'll usually try to get it done the day of. But I love the repetition of "damn him." I mean, it really drives the point home. I like how this speaks on inner conflict, especially, like, to me, it speaks on the idea of when you first start coming out to yourself.
Oh, we lost you again, Pam, or at least I did.
The idea of knowing that you feel something, but not wanting to feel it because there's these expectations that have been laid upon you of who you should love and how you should love. This had really strong emotive lines, great use of repetition, wonderful consistency in tone. And I know for me, I do repeat some things oftentimes in my comments, which I understand. But to me, sometimes there's the exception, but I like consistency, what I call consistency in tone with this. Even though it has back and forth, it's consistent in its back and forth. Um, and I appreciate that. And it's such an excellent write on the heart torn when love and desire is sparked. And again, definitely, as he does say in his AN, a personal experience that I dealt with while dating back in the day, also one that Frank Bedard may also relate to. And I have to say, yes, from what I've read about Frank Bedard and his poetry, I do think he would totally relate to this, right? I think many people would relate to this, right? And again, it's another wonderful one to be sharing with June being Pride Month. So an amazing write by Dark Night of the Soul, and very well done. And back to you, John.
Yeah, so how long does it take you to go out of the room and come back in?
Oh,
because
just a minute or so.
You've dropped out like for 30 seconds or so a couple of times in the last few minutes. I'm wondering if it's you. And then if you go out and come back in, then I will go out while you read, and then you can bring me back in when you're done reading.
Sure. I'll be right back.
Okay. I totally agree with Pam there. I think Frank Bedard would absolutely love this poem. It's although Bedard would have made the poem like 30 times longer because his poems tend to be really, really long. If you read Ellen West, you'll see what I mean. It just goes on for pages and pages and pages and pages. So he probably would have amped it up on steroids a little bit. But yeah, I think Frank Bedard would really get this poem and would really love this poem. And sorry, I am going to oh.
All right, I'm back, John.
All right. So I'm going to pop out and then you can bring me back in after you're done reading Mongolian Hunter by Jens Johannes.
All right, sounds good. All right. Mongolian Hunter by Jens Johannes. And it goes like this. You know it already. You know it for sure. There is someone else inside you. You are a Mongolian hunter, but now there's no more to say. The white of his eyeballs, his horse, his 4 ears have been haunting the desert for years, but now there's no more to say. His heart was a desert so hot and wide, his nose cold and narrow as fear. As he flew the hawk and shot the deer, all living creatures would hide. But now there is no more to say. Is it true that the two of you now live together under the same seagull sky of your hollow gray shepherd's skull, far from the desert he rode? That you follow his karma and he follows you all the way through your back street as if you had something to say? You know it already, you know it for sure, that in case you stay, he'll shoot you one day, one fine day of your gray, dull sky skull, he'll switch on the light, knowing and pure. And poem. Oh, what an amazing write here by Jens Johannes. I'm very impressed with this one. And we'll go ahead and bring JoJo on so he can share his thoughts. And welcome back, JoJo.
Thank you, Pam. It's good to be back and commenting on this really interesting piece. First and foremost, I just love the vibe, the atmosphere of this. It's just so good. And I got to find it now because I was listening rather than reading along. The white of his eyeballs, his horse, his 4 ears have been haunting the desert for years, but now there is no more to say. What's with this horse with 4 ears? Maybe you've got some insight there, but I take that as to be just a kind of a strange, almost maybe like dreamlike kind of an image there, but I love the horse with 4 ears. So the fit for this, I think, is that there's this so there is someone else inside you, and so there's this internal strife or fight maybe, and yet there's also sort of this ghost-like kind of a feel and atmosphere to it, and maybe the horse is a ghost, with the horse with 4 ears is a ghost. I don't know, because it's been haunting the desert for years, but there's this almost like he's possessed or something by a ghost, and I think that's the fit with Bedart, and so that's the prompt 2 is I found another man, and so it's almost like he's finding this other ghost-like or ghost-like person inside of himself, but the idea that he was a Mongolian hunter almost gives it to me this feel of like maybe he's imagining this person inside of himself as a past life. I'm not really sure. Then later, the last stanza, he brings in the idea of karma, which also, I don't know, for me kind of gives me a past life kind of a feel, or at least maybe a much earlier in life kind of consequence now. But I guess that's kind of what I take away from it. But I'm going to have to go through this line by line to get more than just this general feel for it, but this just feels like a real Bedart kind of a piece. And yeah, I should have commented on this before the show. It's really strong, and it just has this great Bedart vibe to it, but it's a little abstract for me to actually, for it to really form completely right now. So this is one of those I'm gonna have to reread before judging, and I'm gonna have to go through it really deeply before judging. It's because it's clearly a very strong piece. Your thoughts, Pam?
Oh, absolutely. I do agree that it is a strong piece for sure. And I thought you made a wonderful comment there. On the horse with the 4 ears, I actually had a more practical thought on that.
Yep.
But I like what you had to say, but I have more practical thought in the idea that if you think about Genghis Khan, you think about the Mongolians taking the how important horses were to their society, and the idea that they spent so much time on their horses, and that they were basically connected. You know what I mean? Like there's this almost spiritual connection to the horse, and also physical, and I don't know, I feel like the 4 ears are the representation of both the hunter, the man, and the horse listening at the same time. I do like I said, this does make me think of Genghis Khan. There was another part. There was I can't find the specific part, but one of the parts in the comment you made it on had me thinking of, because I did a show before on I used to do with another co-host a show where poetry was inspired by history, and we did one on Genghis Khan. And there's and I had to look it up, but I knew it was a large amount, like approximately 0.5% of men worldwide, or 1 in 200, are estimated to carry a Y chromosome lineage traceable to Genghis Khan.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've read that too.
Yes, very. He was definitely prolific. But even if you, that is for sure. That is for sure. And definitely an interesting historical figure. But I feel like even if you don't focus in on Genghis Khan or other famous Mongolians, that's just what comes to my mind. I feel like the main message that I get from this is that struggle between the subdued modern person or man that someone has become, and the wild and free spirit, the hunter that lives within them. The idea and had so much connection to nature. Like if you think about our ancestors, if you think about old religions before Christianity took over, and how so many old religions had to do with nature. Like I was watching a video on the other day on how with so many ancient religions, antlers, especially in like the Celtic religions, were a symbol of power. And it feels like this is that idea of there's a part of me that misses, like, yes, I understand. Like, I feel like this character is like, I understand the importance of culture. I understand the importance of being civilized. But there is a part of me that wants to connect with nature. There is part of me that wants to have that wild and free spirit, the way my ancestors did. I think this is an absolutely a strong right by Jens Johannes, and Very well done.
You know,
And
so you made a good point about you know, the horses, the horse. I think that, you know, I think the Mongolians also used well, they used these leather hoods that they would put over the horses to protect them. They would put them over the head, and I think maybe were tied into the bridle. But
oh, that's
so they would have maybe like little leather ears that kind of went up to cover the ears, maybe. So I had just had that
that
thought,
makes sense too.
but
I, I, I
but I
hadn't
actually
thought of
really
that.
like
Yeah.
your idea of, you know, the horse and the hunter kind of pooling their ears to listen um, for enemies, or to just to listen. So that makes sense too. All right. Next up is no longer a citadel divided against itself, and I think this is my read.
Yes.
So, no longer a citadel divided against itself by Eric Svensson. Fraught fracas abacus, a citadel divided against itself shall fall. And a man? Why write under a pseudonym? Which man rules the city? Fraught fracas abacus, the poet that writes under a pseudonym, or the realist that saw guts, gore, and blood journalism? Sensation sells, doesn't it? Quips the poet oft. Truth is stranger than fiction. Who rules the city? Cerebral cranium branches all quicksilver tinsel. Mercurial wit does its provocative disco baubbling. Blinding strobe-lit flashes of brilliance. Fraught fracas abacus? Subtraction, division, addition, multiplication. The twain shall never meet. Liminal heart roots balk, cringes at these dilapidated, terse, torrid times. Yet, roots dig deeper still, drills through granite cliffs to succor hope. It is the kingdom of heaven, isn't it? The stalwart blood pump that turns blue blood into ribald red again. Fraught frabus abacus. Mind cleaves unto Goliath guts and gall above. Below metronome heart plays the harp constantly. David's ilk content with poetry slingshot. Why should a divided citadel fall? Expand consciousness. To both head and heart, the devil's advocate says, life's duality dance is a fact. Those who delve into the deepest darkness procure the most light. Fraught fracas abacus, IQ versus EQ, they come lightning fast. Blitzkrieg bazooka, swift the words tumble down. Now that says the pseudonym personae of poetry should rule the city. Not the erudite monkey mind, the intelligence that keeps tripwiring itself. Addition, multiplication versus subtraction, division. Fraught fracas abacus, a poem a day keeps the doctor away. Robert Frost said it's not a profession, but a condition. So skip the pills and munch them apples. Bullseye William Tell. The poet in him feared not the archer's arrow. Bone marrow mind saw its split splicing cerebral cranium branches apart. Shuck the abacus for good. No more fraught fracas. Personae poet, ye shall rule the city. Southern Cross constellation thy compass. Liminal heart means what it says. Thus it's handed the golden ratio city keys. No need for moats, drawbridges, as freedom of speech is thy portion, underwritten by poetic license. End poem.
Great read there, John. What an wow. I'm so glad that one was you. I mean, I love Eric's poetry, but there's definitely some tongue twister lines he
Yeah.
throws in. And I have to say, there's so many great lines throughout, but I especially love "A poem a day keeps the doctor away." I mean, how great is that? Um, but wonderful use of alliteration, great wordplay, great use of repetition, strong imagery and metaphors. I mean, this is just clever in its wordplay. I like the repetition of fraught, fracas, abacus. And that is just
You didn't have
great.
to read it like 10 times.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. Oh my gosh. But a citadel divided against itself. That's another great thought, and giving a nod to a house divided against itself. And the idea of having that argument within yourself, trying to figure out who you are and trying to figure out, the settling on a point and feeling that division happening within you, and trying to figure out who is going to be in charge. Are you going to be in charge of yourself, or are other people? There's decisions to be made, whether they're made, like he says, IQ versus EQ. So the um I'm honestly not sure what IQ stands for. I know EQ stands for, like, EQ has to do with emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And
IQ is intelligence. So IQ is intelligence quotient.
oh, okay. Yes. I knew it was intelligence other than emotional intelligence. And sometimes I feel like that speaks on the idea of decision making being made. Sometimes it has to be made in a practical way, and sometimes we have to listen to what our heart, what our soul is telling us. And they're just strong lines throughout. I like also how this does speak on that inner argument that leads to an understanding of the poetic freedom one must allow themselves to have. And very well done by Eric Svensson. And your thoughts, John?
Yeah, so that the IQ versus EQ thing, I think, is sort of like the head versus the heart struggle here, because we also have the what I would say is the realist versus the poet, and also the writer writing under a pseudonym versus sort of this more public kind of an identity. So the citadel is represented here in all sorts of different ways, and I think the IQ versus EQ is sort of the head versus the heart. So, doing what's rational and, maybe that you think is the right thing versus, following your heart and what your emotions might be kind of telling you to do. So I thought all of that put together was really effective. And the idea of the fraught fracas abacus, which is more than a tongue twister, is doing some heavy lifting here as well. So, the abacus is used for, as he says, the subtraction and division, and the addition and multiplication. And then in the last iteration of that, he actually has addition and multiplication versus subtraction and division. So the first two being mathematical operations that kind of put things together, and the last two being mathematical operations that kind of tear things apart or break things apart. And so I think that the abacus is a really, really strong metaphor and also image, because as a mathematician who's actually kind of used an abacus at various times just for shits and giggles, it brings this really strong picture in my head of an abacus, and so I liked that part a lot. The all of these William Tell and Southern Cross and the Golden Ratio, I think those I'm gonna have to think really hard about. I'm not exactly sure what they're doing. They're clearly important, but my feeble brain at midnight is these are just a little bit beyond me. But I'm sure they're doing some heavy lifting. Almost every line in an Eric Svensson poem is doing heavy lifting, but the skeleton of this is really very well aligned with the contest and with the prompt. You clearly see this division, this internal division in the narrator that just comes through really, really strongly. So I love how well aligned this is to the contest as well. So really nicely done, and thank you so much for the submission, Eric.
Absolutely. Great comment there. And what do we got next?
Well, hopefully we have a serious tongue twister for you to read. I mean, this is hopefully going to be retribution. This is Elusive Summer Quill by Puddles 33.
All right. Let me just do a couple of clicks.
Oh, yeah.
And get back to where I need to be. All right. Elusive Summer Quill by Puddles 33. I lift my quill to the summer sky, will light to fill its shaft, spill sunshine upon the page, but my scratchings leave only shadows that creep between the lines. I flick and tap and flick again to force flowers from the tip. A modest garden flares before it wilts on parched gray linen. No soothing words to nature blooms. Erase, rewrite to coax the light, yet weeds arise unbidden. Thorns grow to pierce the page, while thunderstorms that roil inside growl in thick black ink. Gusty winds sweep letters into piles of dark debris and scatter warm and loving thoughts right off the scroll's frayed edge. I search for light, obey the dark that moves my trembling hand. My summer quill is empty, it awaits the night's command. End poem. Well, not quite a fraught fracas there, but you know, I'm afraid you'll probably have to wait for another night for retribution or revenge.
There was some nice alliteration in here, and so there were some places where you might have stumbled a little bit, but you didn't. So beautiful read there, and beautiful read of what I think is just such a nice poem. So this was in response to the even as master, of course, you remain its slave, and the metaphor here is, the speaker is a writer and trying to create, trying to write, trying to will light to fill its shaft, to spill sunshine upon the page, which so it's really beautifully written. So this is about a writer who is trying to write, I think. But it's not exactly coming. So they're trying to force flowers from the tip. And then a modest garden flares before it wilts on parched gray linen. So there's like a spark of a garden of an idea, but then it wilts. And there's no soothing words to nurture the blooms. So this seems like the struggle to write in the context of being a master writer, but then not being able to write and not being able to not write because they're a slave to writing. But my favorite part of so this is a really strong fit and a nice response to that particular prompt. But I just love how beautifully this is written, and so yeah, it's really lyrical and gorgeously written with lots of the flower image, the garden and flowers imagery, and I just love the idea of like flowers flowing from the tip of the pen. Just really beautifully written. What did you think, Pam?
Oh, I really liked this. Yeah, it was beautiful. I will say this is one that definitely had a nice flow to it, which for me, in my personal taste, um, doesn't usually happen with free verse poetry. But in this case, it did. I mean, this is a beautifully written free verse poem, really thoughtful lines, amazing imagery and metaphors. This is a wonderful write on the poet that is torn between the light and dark of self. She wants to ink something happy, and that's what the sunshine represents, is the idea of the poetry. You want the muse to give you poetry that will make people happy. And unfortunately, some of us are just meant to, spill shadows onto our pages. That's what the muse calls us to do. And just strong lines throughout. But I especially like erase, rewrite to coax the light, yet weeds arise unbidden. Thorns grow to pierce the page, while thunderstorms that roil inside growl in thick black ink. Wonderful lines, beautifully written, and very well done. And we can fit in one more poem, John, and then we're going to have the rest be carryovers.
You sure you want to do one more?
You know what? At 10:58, with having another show in less than a half hour, I think you're right. Let's go ahead and make the rest of them carryovers. I think that's a good idea, because then we don't have to rush. I mean, not, you know what I mean? Like, we can give people the comments they deserve. So our carryovers will be Ben Hart, Monty G, Jim Bellamy, Teresa S, W.P. McLeod, and T. Manzano. Anybody who didn't hear their name on that list and didn't hear their poem, it was because we didn't get permission from you. So if you message me, Pam Ray, permission on all poetry, then we'll make sure to get your poem up on the next In Our Craft or Sullen Art. But this has been a great show tonight, John. Thank you, as always, for being an amazing co-host. Thank you to Tim, Amy, Monarch, Monty, Robbie, and everybody else who hung on the board. Thank you to Fill My Eyes for all that she does. Thank you to everyone who wrote for the show, is listening now or will be listening later. We truly appreciate you all. And please join myself and whoever will be my co-host for Echoes in the Dark in about a half hour. And, make sure to keep an eye out on the contests and topic boards put up by our late night poets, hosts, and hostesses, because you're sure to find something to inspire. And have a wonderful night, everyone, and have a wonderful night, John.
You too, Pam. Thank you so much for all that you do as well.
Thank you.